Wer fällt gut? So this is going to be a German article, I believe, that was released or at least leaked or something like that. People were posting it online, so I can't necessarily read it, but what we can do is look at the images and some rough translations that people have pulled out. But obviously I have to give credit to this, so if you speak German or if you just want to see the images yourself, go ahead and check the link below where I found the link myself. So yeah, check that out. Anyways, we're going to dive right into it. So it's going to include a couple images. One that's really awesome that shows a battle between the vampire counts and the Empire in the distance. So this is cool because it shows off a lot more of the vampire units. You can see a Terrorgeist floating off to the right amidst the bat swarms. If you look on the bottom, you can see a bunch of these crypt horrors. And if you look at the unit cards, you see a bunch more Cairn Wraiths, Hex Wraiths, which is cool to see. I'm trying to find where those Cairn Wraiths are on the battle itself. I can't necessarily find them, but some very, very cool stuff. Definitely awesome to see the vampire units. They are going to have a lot of variety. So it was too bad that in the stream we weren't able to see too much of the new units. It was mostly, zombies, some basic knights, and some skeletons. But this is going to be a cool indication that the roster has yet to grow more and more. So we'll definitely be seeing more, as well as the leader that we see here. So this is not Vlad von Karstein. This is going to be another guy, some necromancer. I'm not sure who it is, but I love the kind of cartoony look that he had to him. Anyways, they also included another high-res image of this, which I believe is the same battle that we saw previously. It's going to be the vampire counts against the greenskins with the black orcs there and von Kars, Manfred, sorry, I believe. I always get it mixed up. But anyways, I'm pretty sure this is the battle we saw before. These skeletons charging into battle here. So I still am not totally convinced on the green fog that's up above them. It really looks a bit too cartoony for me, kind of like arrow trails. I hope it's something that they toned down. It just looks a bit ridiculous. But yeah, I'm glad we get to see some more high-res images. And overall, kind of up to this date, the image on the left is something I snipped from the forums where people were trying to tally, what are the different confirmed units that we see for the vampire counts. So it's a pretty good amount so far. The Black Knights, Cairn Wraiths, Grave Guards, Vargulfs, and Terrorgeists. So the Terrorgeist is cool, but still some more to come, presumably, that we haven't seen yet. So the Zombie Dragons we haven't seen yet. Something like the Mortis engine, or what is their Siege engine, or big pieces of equipment. What is that going to be like? So that's still to be determined. But one of the cool things from the images that was released here is this is going to be a snapshot from the campaign map. And look at this, the ability to raise the dead. So some people did some rough translating. And what they said is, I recruit not in barracks, but in the cemetery. So that's interesting. Recruitment occurs in the cemetery. And that instead of farms, you have mass graves, which provide healthy growth for my undead metropolis. So a complete inversion of how you do things. Now, functionally, the mass graves may just be a reskin of the farm mechanic, and cemeteries may be a reskin of the barracks. In and of itself, even if it's just a reskin and it performs the same way, that's still pretty cool. It adds flavor and individuality. And I hope it does perform a little bit different in terms of the mechanics. So to kind of piggyback off of that, you have the two resources that are seen here. We have the ability to raise the dead as opposed to recruit, and take a look at the two kind of things that are required. So the one at the top is going to be a chest with mana or magic kind of seeping out of it. So that seems to be something like income, or how much of your treasury. So perhaps it's the direct analog to gold that's just colored differently. But the thing below it, I'm not quite sure what that is. It almost looks like a black face, or perhaps that's representing a body or a soul or something like that. So this kind of seems to indicate to me that it is going to be this vampire count, body count mechanic that's been alluded to previously, where you have to basically collect bodies, presumably from the defeating enemies in the battlefield, or being in areas which have cemeteries or have a lot of vampiric corruption that will feed bodies. So perhaps you have to accumulate this over time to help feed your armies, that you can use it to raise the dead and add to your roster. Some people were also saying online that the war chest right there with purple stuff coming out is kind of not necessarily gold or coins or anything like that, but could almost be necromantic power, and it's something that you have to accumulate over time. And so maybe that's what is tied to vampiric corruption. As it spreads, it increases your necromantic holds. and allows you to sustain your force, because remember, skeletons and zombies are all kind of animated corpses that are directly tied to a powerful necromancer who's kind of using his necromancy to keep them, or to give these dead bodies animation and bring them to life and make them attack. So if your necromancer loses the ability to hold his necromantic army together, then the army essentially falls apart. So I'm hoping to see more about that in the future. But that's kind of all we saw so far. Then there was also they did another live stream where they showed some cool clips in much better resolution and detail than we saw in the previous stream. So I just wanted to show you some snippets that people took of this. So this was posted on the forums, people showing the grave guards and all sorts of stuff in much better resolution than we saw previously. So definitely go ahead and check out the stream. It seemed to have been done and handled a bit more in depth with more close-up shots and all that than they had done previously. So I think it's worth it just for a graphical aspect. In terms of the commentary and all that, we didn't necessarily learn too much new, but for the glory of seeing it up close, yeah, it's awesome. I did see it obviously in person, so I can attest to the fact that this stuff looks really, really good. And particularly look at the dire hounds here, just the glistening bones and muscles that are exposed. The tissue is crazy. Some of the effects, as I've said constantly, are still a bit overdone. I like the glowing eyes, but the kind of aura of green gas around the units is sometimes cartoonish. These fell bats looking crazy cool when you look up close, but I think they still have more work to do in the animation phase and all that. But that's going to be it for this video. I hope you guys don't mind me doing all these Warhammer news videos. I will be coming out with more multiplayer stuff for Rome 2 and Shogun 2, but yeah, stay tuned for that. Anyways, see you in the next one.